Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about senior software engineers and demand. So let's get into it. So the question in question was Frederick. Hi Frederick, how does the demand of senior software engineers grow in comparison to the supply? Would you say that the growth is almost exponential while the other is more linear? Yes, yes, I would say that that is the case. But honestly, I don't want to be nitpicky with you here. It's just that I feel like I have to say this because I don't. I imagine that the way that I see this problem is similar to how a I don't know how some I don't know a lot about art or like music or movies or something like that, but I can imagine that someone who has been doing that sort of work for years and years and years and years and have like a real good eye for the sort of movies that are being made or things like that, how they feel when they see, for example, Hollywood only producing action hero movies like superhero movies or things like that, where they see a trend that most people are not aware of, and they see the impact that that trend has on the industry and sort of how it's almost like they can see something such as the certain species falling away from the planet or things like that, and nobody really seems to understand it because most people don't have the sort of experience that they have, right? And I feel very similar about the the adoption of the term senior, because it to me senior it doesn't mean much anymore. Everybody is a senior who has like 3, 4, 5 years tops, years of experience on paper usually. But at the same time, I talk to people who have 20 years of experience who can't tell me what a promise is, even though they've been working with JavaScript for years. They can't explain it. They can't tell me what the media query is, or they can't or things about unit testing. How do you do effective unit testing? Things like that. We're talking about major holes in what I would call a professional profile, and even like hygiene things that are expected from guys I've had interviews with so-called seniors and managers and things like that, who are supposed to be, and they sell themselves as super senior experienced people, and they can't pass questions that the juniors are passing. And so the trend that I'm seeing is not a linear increase in seniors. I'm seeing a decrement. Like we are losing people, I would say, at a steadier rate. The growth in terms of demand is growing definitely in an exponential fashion, but we're not actually acquiring more senior talent. Because the problem that, as I see it, is sort of I see the same problem at an, I would say, even faster rate than the education system. Like the whistleblowers, or well, not whistleblowers, but the people who have been flagging for the fact that if we continue the way we are right now, the amount of time a child will have to study in order to meet current demand, if we think about the demands of the industry, uh, is going to increase to the point where it's no longer possible for a person to actually learn while like still being able to to maintain like a in the time they have been given. They're going to have to learn so much that it's practically impossible for anybody to achieve a degree or like actually get an employment in any type of higher education later on in life, because the demands on higher education and the sort of jobs that we are providing that is above minimum wage are getting to the point where the requirements are insane, they're getting to be insane. And I know for a fact that a lot of people here on my little hobby channel here who are they are very painfully aware of this, I suspect, because if you look at what the companies are asking for in profiles, it can be fairly outlandish in many cases. And I can only say, guys, that the the time it takes someone to meet a senior levels profile by today's standards is insane. It's not just the fact that they have 5 years or something like that we're talking about. They have to have 5 years in very specific things, and that is the root of the problem that I think is more dangerous when it comes to, in a sense, that's why I think this decoupling between like how much are we asking from people and how much time do they have to actually make that happen so that they can get hired and so forth. That's a problem for just schools, but for us, we increase the amount of tooling and areas of responsibility almost every year. That's at the very least not happening at the same sort of rate in the school systems, but it is definitely a factor here in IT, where in order for you to be a software developer, like a real senior software developer, and meet all the requirements that a lot of companies have, you will either as a company have to hire multiple people to do it, which sort of makes the thing a little bit unsustainable, or you're going to have to find people who are, as I said, like the rock stars, like the people who are passionate to the point where it's a lifestyle for them. These are like, I would love if we could sort of get to a point in IT where we looked at software developers the way we look at football players or like things like that, because it really is that the more like that, where you have a lot of players who are, they're really good and like they do do a good job and so forth, and they can really play the game and so forth. But then you have like these like superstar football players, like these people who have like super high contracts, and they're so good at playing the game that they're famous and like they like it's a big deal, and if they sign with a club, it becomes almost like it's like a national pride type of thing, basically. Those sorts of people are at the level, I would say, which is necessary in order to actually meet the exponential growth in complexity in terms of tooling, and even they are going to be outpaced. And so I really think that the thing that we are seeing is not a linear increase in seniors. We are seeing that we have a linear increase, but we are also seeing that the value and knowledge found in each individual senior is going down. By today's standards, I would argue that the people that I used to call seniors, the people I think of as senior, these guys, we don't think we have a term for them anymore. But the people that today is called seniors, the people that I work with, these guys and girls cannot run even one single software team by themselves. That is a joke in comparison to the sort of senior level developers that I used to look up to, or like the people that I look up to, the sort of people where we're talking about people who not only are able to run a team, they're able to make informed decisions for an entire company if that is necessary. That is something that is going away, and I don't think it's necessarily just because people are getting dumber or something like that. It is simply because the area of IT is growing so much that it's no longer possible for someone to be quote-unquote senior and still understand all the things that are necessary in order to have the same sort of impact anymore. Maybe that's inevitable, because if you look at the car industry or planes or whatever, like as we progress forward, it used to be the case, my favorite one is the pilots. It used to be the case that a lot of almost everything related to the flight and the security of the people on, or like how well it went, was down to the pilot, exclusively the pilot's talent. And as we see now, more and more of that is being added on, being more of a supplement to the computer systems and so forth that is being added. It's the same thing with building things. It used to be the case that you could, as a single individual, build a modern day car because cars were simpler. Today, it's practically impossible for you to know all the things about a car to the point where you, as a single individual, could build all the components and do all the things right. And IT is definitely, the exact same thing is happening. So if you used to need one senior to do a job, today you might need 3. That's what I'm seeing. So what I want you to take away from this is that I would absolutely agree that the demand for talented software developers or seniors is growing exponentially, because we are adding more and more tools, and I IT business is just continuously growing. It's not just that new IT companies are coming along, older companies are trying to digitalize everything and so forth and so forth. So it's definitely an increase to the point where it's almost unstoppable at this point, I think. And the problem as I see it is that we can't add enough people anymore. Practically, it's almost impossible. You can absolutely claim that you have like a linear increase in more. You get people who just work and get more and more senior, but the problem is, as I said, you have more complexity, and so the quality per unit of senior is going down. You are actually now, in order for you to be truly the sort of massive impact that you used to have when you hired senior software developers, you're actually getting to the point where your only real option to succeed as a software company now is to actually find these sorts of superstar players I'm talking about, because the complexity of the area is going to the point now where having 3 seniors by today's standards is actually less effective than having 1 senior or one of these rock star super software developers who sort of understand all of this stuff. Because these 3 people, the more people you add, it's the chef problem, right? If you have too many people, it's actually very difficult for you to align everybody. You slow your entire organization down, and it becomes very difficult to make sure that you have some type of holistic understanding of the decisions that are going to be made. And in many cases, I always say this, it's better for you to run things as an expert democracy than it is for you to have all of these people all chime in with their opinion. But the problem with an expert democracy is that you have to have experts who really have that holistic understanding of the problem, and they are becoming very rare, and they're scarce, to the point where these are the this is what I usually say at the very, these are the sort of people that Google and Facebook and these sorts of companies, they are trying to snatch up. Everybody's trying to snatch these people up, because these are the people who will be able to solve the problems of the company. Most seniors by today's standards, they can only be handed the story card and implement that, but they can't innovate. They can't invent, fix the actual problems of the company. Have a great day.